Hello, parents, grandparents, future parents, and curious minds. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Steven.
And I'm PJ.
And this is
Dads Discuss.
Hey, PJ, how's it going, man?
Going good. And I'd like to point out to those of you listening to the podcast, every time we begin this recording to get ourselves in the mood, we start off by redoing the intro. And Steven always double points at me at this, and it's hilarious, and I wish you could see it.
Well, that's because the first time we attempted the intro, you forgot to say Dads Discuss.
Oh, that's right.
You gotta have some cues, man.
Thanks for cueing me, Steven.
Also, it's just too fun not to.
I agree.
But yeah, we'll, at least for this episode, we'll be talking about the 5 love languages and how to express your heartfelt commitment to your mate by Gary Chapman. How do you feel about that, PJ?
I like that. I knew that was a book, but honestly, I feel like most people have heard of this concept. It's really popular, and it really can make you think deeply about how you express love to your partner and how they express love to you. So if you have not read this or have not heard about this, the 5 love languages, I highly suggest to look into it.
And not to sound weird or anything, but it's applicable outside your marriage or relationship too, because you got, especially if you ever find yourself in a managerial position or something, because you need to figure out how your employees, like being rewarded. So it applies outside of a relationship.
That's true.
In an intimate way.
It doesn't have to be specifically about the this person that you are in love with. I agree.
Except for one of them.
Yes.
We'll leave physical touch out of the workplace. But words of affirmation, making someone feel better, saying thank you for doing the hard work, quality time, getting that one-on-one with the boss or the loved one, gifts, bonuses in the workplace or flowers in home. Acts of service, taking on that duty for an employee, or giving your wife a time to sit down because she's pregnant and been on her feet all day while you do the dishes.
Yep. We did kind of jump right into it. Steven, I know you have it pulled up. Would you like to give our listeners a quick rundown on what the 5 main categories are listed out as?
Yeah, so it outlines 5 general ways that romantic partners express and experience love, which Chapman calls love languages. According to him, these are the words of affirmation, quality time, gifts, acts of service, and physical touch.
Thank you. So my first experience getting exposed to this concept was actually when me and Kimber were going through our marriage prep courses through the Catholic Church.
Nice.
I had never heard of the concept before, but when they did explain it, it really hit home to me because, you love someone and you know what you think they enjoy, what you enjoy, and how to express your love towards that person. But when they kind of categorized it like that, it really made me think a little deeper in, am I doing what I can to show my love and appreciation to her in ways that she wants to be?
That affect her emotional state a lot better than
Thank you, yeah, and you can cut
things
my
that
little
would
clip
frustrate
out.
him. Yeah, well, yeah. No one's going to harm you for thinking about what you're going to say. I'll just help you along the way if I have any idea.
I appreciate that. But yeah, I know when I first heard that, it really made me think that there were 2 categories that I myself placed myself in, and that would be physical touch and then words of affirmation. I enjoy giving hugs, receiving hugs. I enjoy when someone compliments me if I did a good job, and I like to tell other people when they've done a good job, the old attaboy or pat on the back. But not everyone responds to that type of love language, if you will. Kimber has said before, and I can easily see this, that one of her biggest love languages is acts of service. She shows this by always wanting to be the one to cook for ourselves and a group of people.
Yeah.
She feels like making a meal for someone is one of her grandest ways to show that she enjoys your company, that she likes spending time with you. So to me, that lets me know that one way that I can show her my appreciation and love towards her is acts of service in the other direction, like doing the dishes or cleaning up the house without being prompted. And she does recognize that. Like
Yeah.
she sees that I've done that, and she's like, that lets me know that you care.
Yeah, or joining her in the kitchen while she's cooking.
Never, no.
Oh, really? You get banned?
If you
Man.
have someone who loves cooking, you can. The first thing they're going to tell you is, "I love you, but get out of my kitchen. You're in the way."
That's different. My wife loves cooking, but she loves cooking as a team.
Okay,
So
all right.
it's that acts of service, I would say, is the same for her. Maybe not her top one, but up there is. Maybe she's more about quality time.
Okay,
in that
yeah,
category.
That makes sense.
But she definitely wants you. If you come and cook with her, she'll think very highly of you, basically.
That's nice. Now, Kimber usually tells me, like, you're standing right in front of the drawer that I need to get to. So that's kind of my cue to just go walk away.
That's you looking for some of that physical touch.
Apparently, yeah.
Negative or positive.
Push me out of the way. Though it was interesting when I first heard those concepts because I had never thought about it like that. But after learning about it, it really made me think more in depth, and I liked it. I really liked it.
Makes a lot of sense for you. For me, it's more acts of service and quality time as well.
Okay.
I don't really mind if people give me a gift. It's really nice, especially if that is really thoughtful and things like that. If I'm getting a gift, I typically like it to be something that somebody really put a thought into. Otherwise, it's like, yeah, you got me something cool. Thank you. Really appreciate it, sort of thing.
Well, next time for your birthday, I'm just going to hand you a generic gift card.
Oh, God. I mean, gift cards are great if you're like, man, I know he loves this restaurant. I mean, he goes there like twice a week. I'll get him that.
Yeah.
So gift cards are great for if you know that about someone.
But it's the thought behind it.
Yep. And we had a little, what they call a sprinkle for Catherine, since it's not the first kid, so there's no baby shower, but some of her girlfriends wanted to take her to brunch and have a sprinkle.
I've never heard that term.
And you brought up gift cards because one of them gave her a gift card to her restaurants for, after the baby's here, which is very, very thoughtful.
Oh, yeah, of
very
course.
Cool. So, yeah, I hadn't heard of sprinkles either. I think it came about sometime the late few years. I don't know.
Okay.
Kind of neat. You don't want to.
That is neat.
You feel awkward being like, I'm going to throw a party after the first kid. So they have many parties.
Many parties. Well, the quality time aspect, I think is another one. No one probably fits into one or two. It's always a blend of different categories, but that's another one that I feel like me and Kimber are really big on. We spend time together, just ourselves. Usually, as I know I mentioned in a previous podcast, after the kids have gone down to bed, it's kind of like a time for me and her to unwind together. We talk about the day, we talk about our future, everything like that. So that quality time is another aspect that I really enjoy, and I feel like that is another love language that really brings us closer together.
Yeah, I think coming from ours, we both really have quality time up on the list, but it's harder nowadays. So our quality time is going to the grocery store all as a family, and we focus on, instead of being highly efficient and separating and knocking things out and being done early, we just do everything together. So you tick off the chore list as a family and as a couple.
I like that. Yeah. So doing the dishes together and or just anything, going to the grocery store.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is quality time.
That's why I think it's a little higher on Catherine's than mine, because I do mention way too often in our relationship that, hey, we could do this more efficiently if we split up, and she's like, no, get out of here. That's not allowed.
That's funny. We're not the opposite of that, but many times we'll have something to do, like we do need to make a quick grocery run just to get something necessary for the dinner we're having that night. But rather than all running out to the store together, Kimber will just be like, I'll stay here with Luna, go run to the store and get this. So we knew kind of divide and conquer, if you will. And I just hit the microphone, apologize.
Yeah, if it's one item, I can sometimes be tasked with going by myself. It's definitely not a common occurrence.
That's funny. Be tasked. It's
Yeah.
like, I don't know what I'm supposed to get, but she's told me what I need to get.
I've got a list. It'll
Right.
get knocked out. I am way more efficient and fast in the grocery store by myself.
Oh, I think everyone is.
Yeah. But it's a good time spending time together,
That's good.
even if you're not being efficient.
I like that. I can already see that aspect developing in my children too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know my daughter is one. She really does enjoy receiving gifts, and that may just be an aspect of being a child. But like, if we go somewhere, yes, she's with us, and she's getting that quality time. But if we purchase like a small Hot Wheels car or something for her, she's going to remember that, for the whole rest of the day. And it's all she's going to talk about. So she really enjoys that aspect, giving and receiving things. And she's always trying to give her toys to us or to other kids as well. And I think, at least in her mind, maybe she thinks I enjoy this, so they enjoy that as well.
Yeah. Well, kids are hard to identify in general, because, I mean, I'm sure you've experienced with Luna, too, that, you get down on their level with quality time and they'll love you and play with you and do all sorts of things that they'll remember.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's hard to gauge which level's bigger or not. I mean, my kids love me throwing them up in the air and whatnot, so physical touch is definitely up there because they like dancing and being flipped and gymnastics, throwing and being tackled, and they're just very much in the physical realm.
And what about like at nighttime? Will she try and like come up and want to snuggle with you, get under a blanket or anything?
Yeah, they do fight over that sometimes now.
Okay.
Since we do the co-sleep. Although she's going to have to get used to her own bed soon, because the bed is not big enough for 3 kids.
No.
As much as we love having them around as much as possible.
Well,
I will say that for her, the oldest at least, words of affirmation seem to have no effect.
Okay.
I can be like, I'm proud of you, kid. Good job. You're doing great. And she just like walks away. That might be the least on her list.
That's funny. But yeah, love languages, making sure that you are providing your spouse with the type of affirmations that mean something to them, because, you could be the type of person who does enjoy giving people gifts, like you want to buy them, say an expensive piece of jewelry or something like that. But if your significant other is not someone who really relates to that, they might not see it in the same light that you see it.
They may think you're showing off or, something like that along those lines, versus just how you show your love.
Right.
I mean, I had a friend in college that was his love language, was giving gifts, and you could see it in his relationships that would sometimes fall apart because he'd be so expressive with gift giving over the top.
Oh,
that
okay.
It's like they would walk away. I don't know if that's the reason they walked away or
but
not.
Still,
but still, it's like if they couldn't handle that.
Yep. Or if it's not the way that they want to be perceived, if that's not their love language, they might not perceive it in the way that he does.
Yeah. I mean, even outside of his, intimate relationships, even as friends, he would give all of himself if I called him at night, and he'd be there, sort of thing. And to out one of our friends, I went with him to go buy her weight in Dr. Pepper, so that because she was having a rough week.
Oh,
or maybe that was her birthday. I don't know. Something like that. We went out to the store and just bought a crap ton of Dr. Pepper and stacked it, texted her roommate and stacked it in her apartment.
That's funny.
So he definitely gave gifts to another level, that's for sure. Okay. And I learned a lot from that. But luckily I married someone that doesn't need gifts, but it's applicable in any life if you find out somebody close to you needs that sort of thing.
Yeah,
how to shower them with that type of love.
Yeah, so again, I'll have to mention, I felt like it was very beneficial for me to stumble upon, not really stumble, it was presented to us. But if you haven't heard of this concept before, I suggest all of our listeners to look into it, as well as to continue to like and subscribe to the podcast.
Drop us a comment on what your love language is.
Absolutely, we welcome it.
That'd be pretty cool.
in
We did.
relation. Oh,
Go ahead. I think we were thinking the same
we
thing.
were thinking the same because we looked at our beautiful whiteboard up here.
It keeps track of everything for us.
It does, and Stephen's lovely penmanship on the same topic of love languages would be, well, we have written down spice, basically,
Keeping the marriage spicy.
Yeah, how do we keep the love, the physical intimacy, and the spice of the relationship, if you will, when you flowing when you have children and other responsibilities.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's why I wrote it on the board, because I need your thoughts. No,
I need advice.
No, I try and be a little, at least for me, we said quality time and things like, and acts of service are my top ones, so I do express myself a lot in those ways. I'll make sure the dishes are clean by morning time before she gets up, and I may sacrifice a workout to go do something else for her. And those go a long way of keeping the spice alive, I think. But, sometimes you gotta put on a TV show for the kids so you guys can have a moment.
Yep, I understand. Just planning. I hate to use that word, but you kind of alluded to that. You have to kind of get ready to the moment. Make sure that the dishes are done. Have things in place so that you can find those opportunities, those times. I would say that at least in our relationship, spontaneity is not as common as it was when we first got together.
Yeah,
it's a little bit more thought out. Still happens, and I'm thankful for that. But it is more of all right, we're gonna get the kids to bed at this time, so let's take them to the pool to make sure she's tired. Let's get her down. We're gonna have our little nightly get together. Maybe take a shot. Just have that good quality time, if you will.
Yeah, this is the episode we hope our kids don't listen to until we're not children.
Or the episode that our friends listen to and then decide to tell our wives, you know what they were talking about.
But yeah, I won't discredit the occasional taking a long lunch while the kids are at school and seeing each other and either eating lunch together or being in the house alone where it's too quiet and things like that.
That's good. No, I have not experienced that per se, but we haven't necessarily sent our daughter into the preschool yet, so there's not a lot of opportunities where she's not around either one of us. But we did have the opportunity to have as we called a lunch date the other day. We went and had Chili's, just the two of us. Then we ran to Walmart actually together without the kids, and it was really nice. That was a lot of fun. We both really enjoyed that. So and that was semi-spontaneous.
Nice.
That's not a word.
Spontaneous.
It was semi-spontaneous. So little things like that really can make a difference. It doesn't always have to be over the top. We're gonna spice up the life right now. It can be little spices.
We're gonna have fun.
Yes.
That is a good point. I don't know if you find it when you do something with your wife outside of kids now that you've been so used to it that you're like, why is it so quiet?
Oh, absolutely. It's deafeningly quiet.
Something's going wrong. I don't know if we keep this podcast up until the kids are all out of the house, what our opinions will be at that time.
I know.
That'll be interesting.
No, the conversation certainly was different, though. It gave us the freedom to, talk a little bit more about just ourselves, just in general, and not have to worry about saying something that we wouldn't necessarily say around the kids.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, so it gave us that opportunity to be with each other,
Our quality time these days seems to be on road trips.
Okay.
In that sense that you're talking about. The kids are in the back. We assume they're listening, but we don't care. Right. So we'll just talk about all the things we care about, and then if they need the occasional video or whatnot, we'll turn it on. But usually we start every trip just talking to each other and letting the kids do their thing, and we spend some quality time, and once they get bored, then we turn the TV on, and then we can really talk about whatever we want to talk about.
Good. That gives you that quality time aspect, but like I said, the kids are still around. So do you ever find it increasingly difficult, though, for more intimate moments?
Oh, yeah. As we add more kids too, I'm dreading having 3 in the house and figuring out how that's going to work. There might be some mandatory nap times or just a lot more lunch dates, I guess you could say.
And like I said, I hate to use the word planning, but it's the best word I found. Is just sometimes it does take that. Like, you always need to be thinking about not only your children, but think about your spouse as well. And sometimes it does take a little bit of planning to make sure that both of you are, getting what you want to receive from each other, and making sure you're showing that love and appreciation, not constantly just having to be the parent, but also remind your partner that you love them and you are with them as well.
Yeah, because you guys are going to be together a lot longer than the kids living in the house, that's for sure.
Yep, absolutely.
Sadly, it's a temporary, or at least that's what you want it to be, is a temporary thing where they go off on their own and experience life like you did.
So. Yeah, and hopefully you can have shown them, a good path, that'd be a role model for them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not a permanent solution. It can be, but I think most people would like to see their children, flourish on their own and not be at the house when they get into adulthood.
Yeah. Yeah, because you always worry, maybe not worry, but can maybe theorize that whoever their partner is going to be later in life is going to be similar to one of the parents that they adored, sort of thing.
Yeah.
A lot of the times you see your partner reflecting a lot of your parents in you because that was your first relationship that you latched onto.
Oh, I don't think that's the case for Kimber, but okay.
Well, I mean, I guess it all depends on... It's not 100% fast rule, but that's my theory, at least for some people.
I think I have heard that, though, and that's just because you spend, or hopefully spend a decent amount of time in your childhood with your parents. So they're like, one of your main role models in your head because it's who you've experienced most.
So you look for a partner that fulfills kind of those same things that are voided out when you leave your parents, sort of.
Yeah, or at least the good qualities, and if there's any bad ones, you hope
you
find someone who
get
does
rid
not
of
have those. Absolutely, avoid the red flags, if you will.
But people have awful. There are bad parents out there, right? So, like you said, you might want to look at the exact opposite. Like that first relationship's really gonna define you for a lot of your life. That's why you gotta be a good example, right?
It is. Yep.
And sneaking that physical touch while the kids are. You think the kids aren't looking?
I saw a meme that I had to bring up, and it said, every once in a while having to put on Blippi just to sneak into the bedroom. And I just thought that was really funny. Like, whoever this guy is, like, thank you for the 10 minutes of silence for a second. No.
Yeah.
But sometimes it does feel that way. Sometimes it feels that, you are so involved in parenthood and your responsibilities that you might be not necessarily neglecting, but not as active in your physical intimacy with your spouse as you used to. And I think that's just a part of growing up. That's a part of, being a parent, but not letting it get to the point where that never occurs.
Right.
So actively continuing to plan, continuing to communicate with your spouse, making sure that they know that they are loved.
Making sure the bed sheets are clean, yeah.
Yeah. If we leave that in the podcast, oh my God. No, that's a very good one. That's right.
Yeah, it's staying in. We don't edit this podcast.
You're right. What are we talking about? I don't edit my life. Well, the next bullet point will really I'm interested to see why you wrote this down. So Stephen has written on the whiteboard, sex, place, and marriage.
Well, grammatically correct, it should have been sex's place in marriage. But,
okay, yeah. All right.
I don't know. I wrote that one down just because different religious beliefs and things like that point towards sex as being more of all about procreation and creating new life and all of those mantras that we live by. But, it's still an intimate act between two people that bring you closer together and solidify a bond. So I just kind of put that up there to mention that and talk about it, or whatever your thoughts are.
Okay, no, and I think we'll definitely get involved in that a little bit more when we talk on our religion episode, or episodes plural. As we've mentioned in the past, both Stephen and myself were raised Catholic and still practice. And one of the big things in the Catholic religion is that sex and marriage, well, while reserved specifically for marriage, a main proponent of it is to be open to creating life. Yeah. While a lot of other mindsets, even in the religious world and outside of it, is that sex can be used purely for pleasure. Where's that breakdown, and how does it influence
your marriage and things like that?
Exactly.
So outside of the religious philosophy, like, it is a huge proponent, but it shouldn't be the only proponent, is my thought. Like, I saved myself for marriage until my wife, and it's done great for me, I guess, basically. But everybody else has that. In a societal view, that would be considered weird now, or out of the norm, because everybody talks about practice and whatnot. But does that really matter if you're giving your life to someone else? Which also, I could go off on like 50 tangents just opening that doorway, but you may not even be monogamous and things like that if we're talking about way outside of Catholicism. But it's only one aspect of a relationship, and I always saw it as saving myself for marriage helped define a relationship around being together, learning those love languages, really solidifying things that sex isn't always going to be there. What if you become some sort of physical thing outside of your control? That's only one part of your relationship. Would you break up with someone if it's gone, sort of thing?
Yeah, that's an interesting way to think about it. Yeah, so yes, it has a place within marriage and within your loving, committed relationship, but it cannot, and I am a big proponent of this, cannot be the only aspect. It's a part of your marriage, but it is not the part of the marriage.
Right. Now that brings me back to the question of, you have older kids.
I do, yes.
They probably have had relationships by now. Have you talked about that sort of thing and making sure they're not getting into it just for the physical?
Not so much with our middle child. He just entered 9th grade. He claims to have had, a girlfriend here or there in the past, but at that age, what is a girlfriend or what is a boyfriend? My oldest one, who is now 19, yes, he has had a few serious relationships. I wouldn't say I have had in-depth conversations with him. He is very mature, and I never felt like he was one that I had to say anything specific to. He already knew what I was going to say before I said it.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yep. But I do think that that's an important thing to think about as your children get older, is how do we discuss that topic, or any topic? As you said, parents are hopefully a role model to their children, so hopefully they've already got a pretty good grasp of what a loving relationship and marriage is like if they look at their parents.
That's true. The thing I'm reminded of is our childhood. I don't know what your experience was with your parents, but my parents seemed to avoid it like the plague. And I had to figure out things on my own, and make my own guidelines and rules. So they, the dreaded birds and the bees talk, but maybe it happened. I don't know. I vaguely remember.
I think that was just an aspect of that generation. It was very, very taboo to discuss topics like that. And now we live in a society where, hell, there are probably entire podcasts dedicated to the subject. So
true.
Much more open to discussion, not just with your children, but with society in general.
True. Which, kids, if you're listening, come talk to us. Don't hide things.
Yes. Stephen, I thought you were supposed to beep the word sex out. Can I just say sex on the microphone?
Don't tell us everything, but don't. Right.
Right.
But don't be
afraid. But don't be fearful.
Right. Don't be fearful. We're not. Everybody else listening can ignore us now. That's fine.
Yep. And I don't feel that way at all about our oldest. He's always been very open and vocal with us.
Interesting.
Which it can be a good thing or a curse.
Right.
Occasionally I hear stuff that I'm like, that's probably something that I didn't need to hear, but I appreciate you saying it.
I can see that. It's like open up, but don't give me the TMI, right?
Right, exactly.
But you gotta learn those boundaries. And I definitely would be grateful if our kids are willing to share whatever they want rather than hide things from us.
Yeah.
Looking for advice and life experience rather than I'm gonna do it on my own, because the more people you involve in your life, the better you're gonna be, I feel.
Yep. Just goes back to the love language aspect. Hopefully you have that quality time, that communication aspect between not only you and your spouse, but you and your kids. That it's open and honest communication, not that one party is controlling or the other party is constantly having to feel like they need to hide themselves.
Yeah.
And that is one thing that I really love about my wife, Kimber, is that I don't feel like I have to be a different person. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have to hide any aspect of myself. I am a genuine myself is how I present to her. That's how she presents to me. And that just really
Means the world.
Yeah, it really does. And
I
I
agree.
can't say that that's a specific love language per se, but just the knowledge of that.
Yeah. Well, nice one.
Oh my gosh, I literally just hit the microphone with my beer. Everyone listening, apologize for the noise.
Yeah. That's fine. I do get, you have the family text chains and stuff where people are like, what, hey, your birthday's coming up. What do you need? And I'm like, don't buy me anything. Just like show up and like hang out. That's all I need. I'll provide whiskey. It's my birthday. I'll provide whiskey and a good time. Just come hang out with me and have a chat. So it means a lot to me that you started this podcast with me, because that's that quality time and acts of service, I guess.
Thank you, Steve.
Doing
I do
me a
appreciate
service.
that. Yeah, but it is a valid love language that I know some people do have, and it struck me because that's one to me that doesn't really relate as much, like you said, it does to yourself. But I remember them giving an example. It said if you are someone who has a partner who enjoys getting or receiving gifts, make sure to like never forget their birthday. Always make sure that you randomly surprise them with like a bouquet of flowers or something, because it is how they perceive love.
Yeah.
And so that one really stuck with me, because it's like, to me, that does not mean a lot, but I can see how, if that is your love language, that would be huge. Like, if you enjoy getting gifts and your significant other does not buy you a birthday present, that could be crushing.
That would hurt a lot.
Yep.
Just like if flip it over to the quality time part, if you were really looking forward to spending an afternoon and they cancel on you.
Or if they're too
Super
busy,
crushing.
glued to the phone and not even conversing with you, that can be a little hurtful.
Yeah, and they may not even know they're doing it.
Yep. So just be aware. I highly see that marriage is ever changing, ever increasing. You always want to show love to your partner and significant others. So always just be aware of them, because it's not guaranteed, unfortunately, in this society. If you truly love someone, you will work to make it last.
I agree. And the another point of note, if I remember correctly, it's an old book and it's been a long time, it's that you don't ignore one for the other. All five are important, right? Even if one person favors quality time, you should still give them gifts of words of affirmation, acts of service, and physical touch.
Yes.
It's just you may prioritize the one that they receive best more.
I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, that's a really good point. It's never just you're in this category and that's the end of it. It's a blend of them. So don't neglect it, but maybe prioritize the ones that are more important to them.
Agreed. Now, before we go, I hinted at the start, but how do you feel this applies to you in a professional level? Do you have the same love languages that speak to you? Or I know I've read a book that goes along with words of affirmation. That's 7 ways to appreciate people or something like that in the workplace, and a lot of it was like, bonuses affect some people, attaboys affect other people. Things like that. It harks back to that Friends episode. I don't know if you were a big Friends
Never
connoisseur,
seen it.
I guess. But there's an episode where one of the characters keeps getting slapped on the butt by his boss, and it's his attaboy joke thing, and he eventually speaks up and says he doesn't like it, so the guy starts giving attaboys to everybody else in the office, and he's like, I need one. So I don't know if that, how does that apply to you in a professional setting?
At my age and in my position, I would say none of it does. I have made it to a point where I just want to have the work that I need to get done be provided to me, allow me to do it, and then send it on. You know, the less interaction I can have with the better. So I would say no love languages at all apply. I just want to do my work and get my paycheck so I can go back home to my family.
Mm-hmm. On an abstract level, you can look at that as gift giving. The boss gives you the opportunity to work on things you love and knock it out and get it out the door.
That's true. I will say I respect anyone who does contract work or anything, because I myself do not want to be the one seeking out tasks or projects. Like, I help with proposals and do enjoy that aspect, but I don't want to be the one reaching out and being like, hey, we're looking for work, you know, you guys got any things available, you know, so...
Yeah, because I believe one of, if not that book that I mentioned about the 7 ways of appreciation, it was some other leadership training that taught me that some people highly value in the workplace being giving challenging, more innovative tasks or just large workload type things that they can knock out and get done and feel like they accomplished something, rather than just giving them busy work or abstract work or things that don't necessarily deal with the nitty gritty or diving down into something.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I hadn't heard of that.
Yeah. So maybe that's what they're doing to you.
Give it.
Stop hitting the microphone.
Why? There's a microphone in front of my face. Who put this here? No, I hadn't thought about it like that, but yeah, that's an interesting concept. I do enjoy receiving more challenging tasks. I just equated that to being a more senior level engineer, and therefore
it's your love language, man.
Yeah, they knew that I was capable of doing this, or if I wasn't capable at the time, I would figure it out. So I just equated it to that, but maybe that is. Maybe that's like a way that they are presenting the work to me, you know, that I had never thought about.
Yeah, because if you didn't cross it off, then you obviously didn't care enough or feel rewarded by getting more work.
Interesting.
Oh, abstraction.
That's right. The spice of work. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. For me, I don't know what it would be. I think there is you run into a wall sometimes in the professional field where your boss is removed from you, and maybe the quality time from my home life is something I miss in the professional field because I try and give that to my employees.
Okay.
But when your boss sits in another area or far away from you and they don't know exactly what you're doing, it makes it a little bit harder to understand what your role is and how you're communicating and doing the right thing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Something that you've probably struggled with when you started remote work, but you're probably pretty comfortable with it now. I don't know how I would adapt to remote work as I bring this up. It would be tough.
Yeah, no, that it's an interesting concept because it makes you think, yes, you have your significant other and you spend a lot of time with them, or hopefully do, so you can pick up on these traits that they enjoy or don't enjoy much faster than an office setting. If you're a manager, you may be over, 10, 15 people. Now you have to kind of think about, if I do something for this person, is person B going to enjoy it as much? Or if I reward person A with this and reward person B with this, is that more along the lines of what they're looking for? So now you have to think about it not just for one person, but for multiple people. Yeah,
and if all your team works on the same thing, is there going to be any, employees talk, so is there going to be any heartache with rewarding someone for good work or not? But sometimes that boils down to you reward the high performer and then everybody else wants to perform highly because they know a reward incentive is there.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the gift-giving side of things. I've gotten bonuses and raises, and while I enjoy them and they allow me to do more in my personal life, they seemingly don't have as much fulfillment as maybe getting that attaboy or, feeling like I accomplished something or put a product out that was solid.
Okay, no, that's a good point. I may not speak for everyone, but I would like to say if there are any other managers listening to this podcast, don't do a pizza party. Like what nobody wants is pizza.
There is a lot of pizza. Do a taco party. No.
But don't leave out our vegan coworkers.
Right. Yeah, you get a lot. Food is a love language if you think about it.
It can be,
could
for
be
sure.
a new concept, but it isn't an end all be all, and I feel like food is more of the gateway drug to spending time together.
Yeah. I think that's why a majority of people, if they go out on a first or second date, revolves around, getting a meal together, because you can kind of develop that quality time or have those intimate conversations where it's just you, the other person, and something good to eat.
Yeah. I do remember the advice long ago not to do dinner in a movie for a first date.
Because you're sitting in the theater not talking, yeah.
Yeah, you're sitting in a theater not talking, and you're putting a person in front of you at dinner that you've never interfaced with them in any other way possible, and you're saying, hey, let's talk about stuff. That might be. So it's like the advice for a first date. Ours was, we did do dinner on the date, but we started with going and playing ultimate frisbee and swimming in the apartment's pool, and then we went to dinner. So we had some life experience together and got, to know each other on different levels before we went to dinner, so you had something to talk about.
Okay. Now, that's funny because, while we had known each other and, we spent time together before I was finally like, would you like to go on, an official date with me? Our date was a dinner and a movie, except we did it in reverse order. We went to the movie first, and then we had dinner afterwards.
But, yeah, that's the exception to the rule. You knew each other beforehand. Like, if you're going on a cold first date with someone,
then bring a jacket.
No. Yeah. Don't make it dinner or a movie. But if you've known each other throughout the years and already have a feel for each other, you don't have to worry about all that awkward, I'm placing you in front of you and it's an interview sort of thing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you don't want it to seem like you're interviewing the person, although essentially that kind of is.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. But you don't want it to seem that way.
But if you started out with a hike or something, you're getting a life experience before you get into that interview process.
Yep. And I touched on it briefly, talking about having a quick getaway, or as you mentioned, the little lunch date or lunch time here at the house without the kids. But in keeping that spice alive, to me, that's actually something I find very important. To not neglect the fact that you do have to take some time where it's just you and your significant other. Don't let that fade away due to your other responsibilities, whether that be the kids, work, the stress of daily life. Make sure that occasionally you are setting down time to still date your spouse. You may be married now, but do not forget that, you are still essentially dating them, and you should be.
Yeah. Do you think that advice you would give a couple would hold when you're the last married couple on the dance floor at someone's wedding? Do you know that practice?
I don't understand the question.
So I think we did it at our wedding. I wish I would have written down the advice, but you basically have couples come up and dance at your wedding, and they say who's been married 10 years, please leave the floor. 15, leave the floor. I don't know if you remember this. And then the oldest couple that's been married the longest is supposed to give the freshly married couple advice.
Oh.
And so would that hold true for you? Would you give that advice if you and Kimber were still on the dance floor at someone's wedding?
Yeah, I would say so. Don't forget that you are married to the person, but you don't own them and they don't own you. You need to constantly continue to develop the relationship, continue to go on dates. So yeah, I would be comfortable giving that advice to a younger generation once I'm up there in age. Of course, I am old.
Yeah, hopefully we're not the last ones on the dance floor for
a
while. We're only crossing 8 years this year, so for us. I don't remember, yours is a couple of years behind us or something.
Yeah, we will have been married we have been married for 5 years a couple months ago, so we're approaching our 6th year of marriage now.
Nice. Cool. Well, if you don't have anything else, I think I've covered what I aim to for this topic.
Yeah, I appreciate the discussion. I appreciate our listeners listening in. As always, feel free to reach out if you have any questions, concerns, or just want to talk.
And drop that love language in the comments.
Do it.
You won't. Thanks for listening to Dads Discuss.
Please like and subscribe wherever you are listening.
Also, comment any topics you would like us to discuss and share this with your friends and family.
Finally, if you would like to be on the podcast or discuss any topics, please reach out via our contact information below.